Hey guys, Blaze Gamer here, back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about 5 potential opponents for Jake Paul's next boxing fight. So let's jump straight into it. So coming off at number 5 is KSI. Now KSI versus Jake Paul is a huge fight. It's a big fight for us UK fans, big fight for YouTuber boxing. Be a great way to reintroduce the UK, to sold out crowds, to get, an incredible venue, potentially in the O2 Manchester Arena, a venue like that where we can really sell out, 15,000 fans hopefully. So I think it'd be a really massive event. I think this fight, it's been, as I say, it's been in the works for a long time, ever since Jake Paul beat Anderson Gibb. KSI called him out. He flew out to Miami where the event was held, and he called Jake Paul out. So I think definitely a fight, as I say, that's been in the works for a while. I think Jake Paul's gone a lot better as a boxer. I think it's a tougher fight for KSI to probably come back into boxing, because Jake Paul, he's been training with high level boxers. He's had BJ Flores. He's had a lot of really talented sparring partners. He's just coming off a really sweet victory over Ben Askren. Say what you want about Ben Askren, but he was a legit fighter. Maybe not a legit boxer, but he knows how to prepare for a war. So I think KSI versus Jake Paul, as I say, a tough fight for KSI, but for us UK fans, for us YouTube fans who have really been asking for this fight, then I think this fight definitely needs to happen, and I definitely think it could be, a potential next opponent for Jake Paul if he's probably willing to wait towards the end of the year to get that sold out crowd. So yeah, a really sweet fight. But coming in off at number 4, I think it'd be silly not to mention this opponent just because of the history and the sort of rivalry and the back and forth they've had, similar to KSI. So number 4 is Dylan Dennis. Now this is another fight that's been in the works for a very, very long time. But, I think 2 to 3 years. I think even longer than the KSI fight. These guys have been wanting to go at each other. I think it's a very similar fight to sort of the Ben Askren fight. Dylan Dennis is no boxer. He's actually a jiu-jitsu. High-level jiu-jitsu fighter, black belt. He trained with Conor Mcgregor. Don't know if he still does or not, but there is a lot of footage out there with him training with Conor. So as I say, Dylan Dennis, high-level jiu-jitsu fighter, not a boxer, but I think this could be a great fight. As I say, the rivalry, if you've watched Below the Belt with Brendan Schwab, they had a great bit on the Food Truck Diaries where, I don't know if it was set up or not, but Jake Paul was throwing a loo roll at him, and Dylan Dennis was chasing after him. So just a great rivalry. I know they're always going back and forth on Twitter. I know Dylan Dennis even called Jake Paul out after beating Ben Askren. So I think this would be a great fight. Definitely a similar fight to Jake Paul versus Ben Askren. You got, as I say, a high level, well, not a high level boxer. You've got a semi decent boxer going in against a grappler instead of a boxer. Would it probably be best if Jake Paul maybe fights a boxer next? But I just think you have to have Dylan Dennis on this list just because, as I say, the history. I think Dylan Dennis could definitely give Jake a tough test. I think, even having Conor in his corner, having Conor train his boxing, which I'm sure Conor would, I think that would be a huge advantage for Dylan Dennis. And I think Dylan Dennis could potentially beat Jake Paul. I don't think he will, because I think Jake Paul's been training for too long, and I think he's only going to get better. And I think the more pressure, the better he will be. And I'm a fan of Jake Paul, so I've got nothing bad to say about him. I'm looking forward to seeing who he fights next. But coming up at number 3 now, this may be a bit of a weird one, but it makes sense with, again, the sort of back and forth they've been having recently just on Instagram. Number 3 is Tyron Woodley. Now I know this might be a weird fight, Tyron Woodley coming off a 4-fight losing streak, but I think this could be another great fight. MMA versus boxing, get a former welterweight champion in there. I think this would be a good fight for Jake Paul. Definitely, a legacy type fight. If you beat Tyron Woodley, you, as I say, beat a former welterweight champion. He's up there as some of the best, one of the best welterweights of all time. Probably top 5 conversation. So for Jake Paul to go out there and beat someone like that would be huge for his career, huge for his legacy. I think Tyron Woodley would definitely put up probably Jake Paul one of his toughest testers, because Tyron Woodley, he is known for his heavy boxing, heavy striking, but I definitely will be favouring Jake Paul just because just how Woodley's looked as of recently. Now I know that's MMA, not boxing, but just because of just how he's looked recently in his last couple of fights, he hasn't really looked too good. I know Vicente Luque in that fight, he put up a great fight. Probably the most strikes he's ever thrown in his most recent fights, most ferocity he's had in his most recent fights. So I think, as I say, it's a tough test for Jake Paul, because I say Woodley's got that dog in him. As I say, he knows how to prepare for a war. So He's got a lot of accolades, similar to Ben Askren. I think it would make sense for Tyron Woodley to go in there and try and avenge Ben Askren, so it makes a good storyline going into that fight. So definitely a great fight I'd love to see. Coming in at number 2 is Nate Diaz. Now this is a fight that Jake Paul's been asking for a while. I think even after he KO'd Ben Askren, that's the first fight he said he could get Nate Diaz out there in 3 rounds. Now I think this is a crazy epic fight. Now I'd love to see this fight. This is the fight I was definitely calling for ever since Jake Paul beat Ben Askren. Sorry guys, I'm so stoned right now. But yeah, Nate Diaz is a great opponent for Jake Paul. As I say, another sort of legacy cement fight, great for his career. If you can beat a world class fighter like Nate Diaz, then you've proven that you're the real deal. I think Jake Paul already has. I know a lot of people may disagree. Actually, let me know if you guys think. Do you think Jake Paul is a legit boxer? Do you think Jake Paul is a talented boxer? Let me know in the comments section below. But yeah, Nate Diaz as an opponent, his style and his volume, I think, would definitely be a really good fight for Jake Paul. Look at Jake Paul's last few fights. His opponents haven't really known how to approach the fight towards him. As I say in my sort of reaction to Ben Askren Jake Paul fight, I thought Ben Askren would have a bit more of a grappler, dirty boxing approach, but he didn't really seem to have that much of a structured game plan. But I think Nate Diaz's game plan against Jake Paul would, again, as I say, just to wear him down with his body, similar to how he does in MMA, just pieces you up, Max Holloway style body to the head. So I think Jake Paul would definitely have the strength advantage, but I think Nate Diaz has got that durability, he's got the volume and the pressure to really give Jake Paul a good fight. As to who I'd favour, that one would be a tough fight for me to call on who I'd favour, but I probably would go with Jake Paul just because, again, he's probably not got more boxing experience than Nate Diaz because he's been training MMA for so long. But I'd probably favour Jake Paul just on his precision, his speed. I think that would be his biggest factor going in to the Nate Diaz fight. And also, you gotta realise, guys, Jake Paul's a big dude. Jake Paul's at least probably 200 pounds. So I think his weight, it's going to be tough for him to find an MMA fighter. Nate Diaz is a welterweight, so I think it's going to be tough for Jake Paul to find an opponent that is more his weight. But I think Nate Diaz or Tyron Woodley, they're definitely probably more towards the middleweight mark, light heavyweight mark than say someone like a KSI or a Dylan Dennis, where they'd probably do a similar thing to Ben Askren and just bulk up and put on a lot of weight, whereas as opposed to just sort of working their way into that sort of weight, if you know what I mean. But as I say, Nate Diaz definitely a great next opponent for him. Stylistically, a very fun fight, very epic fight. But number 1, I think this fight has to happen at some point. Again, I don't know what weight it would be, but this fight's been in the works for a while. I know Jake Paul's been going crazy. So number 1 is Conor McGregor. I think you have to put Conor McGregor on this list. If you look at the sort of promotion going into this fight and the hype that surrounded this fight, this was at one point a really talked about fight. There was loads of people commenting on Conor McGregor's Instagram pictures, fight Jake Paul. So I think it's a fight that will definitely happen. Just sort of seeing how the Jake Paul versus Ben Askren did in terms of pay-per-view buys, did 1.3 million pay-per-view buys, which is huge. So I think Conor McGregor versus Jake Paul could definitely be a 3 million pay-per-view buy, maybe even more. Could be the biggest fight in entertainment history if Jake Paul is to keep winning, get some more opponents. But I think that's an ultra epically huge fight to be made. I think it is kind of suicide. That is when I would definitely go with Conor McGregor. I think it's a silly fight for Jake Paul in terms of there's probably no way he's going to last probably even around with Conor McGregor, because Conor McGregor's, he's got elite boxing. His precision is second to none. As he's a world-class fighter, and I think is smart for Jake Paul to want to fight, because as I say, that the sort of hype that's been leaning towards it, I'm excited for the fight. If you look at the trash, as at one point he offered Conor McGregor a $50 million contract. He was talking shit about his wife. Obviously Conor McGregor shrugged it all off, he didn't give a fuck. But I think this is a really epic fight to happen. As I say, I don't know what weight, sorry guys, just burped, but I don't know what weight class it would happen at with Conor McGregor. He's actually a former featherweight, so Conor McGregor's quite a small dude. I believe his walk around weight is probably about 165, so I don't even think Conor McGregor's that big. So I think it'd be interesting if they did like an open weight or a catch weight between maybe 170 to 190 pounds. Whether that would be too much of an advantage for Jake Paul, I don't know, but I still don't think it would be. It just depends probably how the boxing commission, how they would see it. But I would say, I think these 5 fights for Jake Paul are definitely epic fights. I think these are definitely top 5, these are probably the names that his team, his management are looking at. I think as for which one I think will likely happen next, I think definitely Tyron Woodley. I think it is probably the best next fight that Jake Paul can get. Nate Diaz is booked, Conor McGregor is booked, and I think Tyron Woodley doesn't have a fight. So I think if he can fight Woodley, I don't know, sometime in the summer, sort of full time, I think that would be a great setup for a Nate Diaz or a Conor McGregor fight towards the end of the year if Jake Paul's willing to do that. But I think, as I say, these are some great names for him. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think. Do you guys have any other fighters that he should fight next? Maybe Joe Fournier. I know he's a legit boxer. He put up a impressive performance on the Ben Askren Jake Paul fight. So do you think Jake Paul should be tested against real boxers, or do you guys like the boxing versus MMA? Because I really like the boxing versus MMA thing that they're doing. I think it's a great way to bring two audiences, not necessarily put them against each other, but sort of to get them siding, like who are you going to favour? Are you going to be team boxing or team MMA? Not necessarily like yelling and boxing sucks. No hate towards each one, just fun crossover events, which I think is really good for the sport of combat sports. So as I say, I hope you guys really enjoyed the video. I just want to say a massive thank you for all the support I got on the last video on the Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal 2 card. I did a breakdown on that, and it's already got a really good amount of views and likes and comments. So I just want to say a huge thank you to that. And also, guys, my little brother, he's just started a YouTube channel. It's called FIFA Gamer 09, where he just posts FIFA pack openings, division rivals. He shows off his team. So there's a lot of good videos that he's making. I'll leave a link for his channel down below. You guys should definitely give him a watch. He's definitely got a lot of potential, and I look forward to seeing where he goes. But I hope you guys really enjoyed the video, and stay blazed.